Welcome, everybody. We are back. We have just completed Daredevil, Born Again, or Born a little bit later, I guess it should be called. Uh, Episode 3.
Yeah, for sure.
And whoa, that one had quite the ending. So
Yeah.
we got a lot of comments in the queue. We got guests coming later, but what are your first reactions to this episode, Tim?
It was a little slower. Some of the stuff that we had heard previously about it being a courtroom drama, I'm hoping that that was kind of just limited to this episode, but this episode was very much that. So we already have an acquittal though. So hopefully the courtroom stuff, this was as much of it as we need to see. So yeah, a lot of slower pacing. Some really interesting wrinkles of information, though. A lot of interesting dynamic with Fisk, who's still very much involved in this whole thing, and a lot of other characters. And then, of course, the big ending there, where we saw Frank very briefly. So that's something that's something that I think we all were expecting at some point. We just didn't know when we were going to get it. So here you go.
Well, I mean, my first thing based on it is that was not Frank. That is very clearly not. Jess was like, "Oh, well, I don't like Frank anymore." My wife, when it was over, I was like, "That was absolutely not Frank," because we saw another one of the cops giving.
That's what I was wondering. They're using the skull as kind of like their little gang thing. So I'm wondering what that's all about. Like, is it going to be kind of this? Is it going to be this thing where the skull is kind of this cop network, this underground cop network of, I don't know. Something's up there. But yeah, when we saw the skull on the chest, it's very clear that they wanted us to think that was Frank. So something's going on there. So,
I'm not taking that bait. I mean, we did see the skull tattoo on the neck in the courtroom when they were.
It was a wrist before, right? Like it was a wrist on the other guy.
Yeah, it was a wrist on the other guy.
And then we saw it, he can't testify. The guy had the skull tattoo. So yeah, a lot of possibilities there. But very interesting theory you've got though. It's not Frank, because here's the thing, Dan. Frank kills everybody. That's like the rule in Marvel, is that Frank kills everybody. So if somebody gets killed and it's Frank, I'm not surprised. But interesting
Frank,
theory though.
By and large, has a code, and Frank kills criminals. He kills people that he considers criminals, murderers and such. And I do know that the Punisher was introduced as a Spider-Man villain who took a contract to kill Spider-Man, but almost immediately that didn't fit in with his character at all, because I guess he read too many J. Jonah Jameson editorials when he went after Spider-Man, because he doesn't go after vigilantes, because those aren't the kind of criminals that he's out to kill.
And especially when the implication here was that Fisk paid him. Frank doesn't do this for money. Okay. He's never been the guy that does this for money. So so yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Hey, we've got a comment down here about it. I don't know if you see this here.
Let's get into some of the comments, but I just had to say, and then the other thing, I don't know. I feel like we might get, I don't know if we're going to get any Daredevil at this point. So anyway, Thug Dog, I despise the BB report. Here's what I'm going to say about the BB report. And you lucked out last week. I don't know how you did it. You had a magic thing where you hit play at the exact right moment, and you didn't have to sit through any of those commercials, but man, did he sell some commercials, man. It is so
they did, man. They pushed hard on this one. They pushed really hard on this one.
Just got done with a commercial, and then here's another commercial. But the BB reports feel like commercial breaks. You got a little symbol in the episode 1 for a minute. I got up to go get a snack because I thought it was a commercial.
Well, and do you remember in the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man when they did the man on the street interview type stuff? I think that's what they're going for, is like what people think about the vigilantes from the perspective of, average on the street Joe kind of people. But it's just not, I don't think it's landing that way. It doesn't feel like it's landing that way. So I don't know. But yeah.
It is just those who watch the commercials know that Dan will be running out immediately to play Brave New World at Top Golf. Yeah. No, I have no Dan.
That's an excellent comment.
Hey, Dan might, and now I sold these things for like probably 4 years throughout my career, and never ever considered buying one because I like to buy American brands, but Dan might buy a Nissan. Because they got Call Me the Breeze in the Nissan commercials, and if you're playing the Skinner, then Dan's ready. He's going to buy whatever you're selling. So I might have to buy an Armada, but I am not going to Top Golf. I don't like golf, and I don't like Brave New World. So
yeah, I know. They were like, you can play it for free, and I'm like, I know why you can play it for free, but anyway, it's okay. So anyway,
like this is taking up floor space. What are we going to do? But anyway,
yeah, exactly.
The rumors, Barry Allen is slow. The rumors of it being illegal procedural are more correct than I was hoping. Yeah.
I said, I'm really hoping that was just limited to this episode, and it might be just because of the White Tiger thing. If we get 2 or 3 more of these trials, this could be a long series, man. I mean, the main publicized and billed antagonist has still not been shown to us 3 episodes in. Okay, other than that brief little thing in the book signing line. All right, we still have not seen Muse, which is really who they were pumping up. But it feels like the Cop Network is like more.
That's the main
who they're trying to push.
Yeah. Frank is going to be here.
It's like a Punisher. It's like a Punisher like network thing, and that there was something like that in the comics, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Yeah. There was something like that in the comics, but this is not. Ultimately, this is not like. I hate group villains. Like it's one of my big pet peeves is when we do group villains, but group villains on top of when we're trying to push in other villains, it just is. It's just crazy to me. So yeah.
Hail Hydra, Tim. Hail Hydra. Group villains can work.
They can work. No, they can. They can.
Yeah.
It feels like we've already done it in the MCU quite a few times. We did it with the Tracksuit Mafia. We did it with Hydra. We did it with the Flag Smashers. I mean, it's been something that they beat to death already. I just feel like the group villain is something they don't need to do.
So here was my first theory when I saw faux Frank at the end of this episode, is that Frank is coming to kill cops for stealing his shtick. He's going to get this in line. He's going to be murdering these people like crazy. But now, having had more of a moment to reflect on episode 3, I think Frank is going to retain Matt to prosecute these cops for trademark infringement. I think that's actually like 4 or 5 episodes.
That would be very on point for Disney, right? That would be very on point for Disney. So yeah,
exactly. You can't use that skull. We don't like you. You can't buy our merch. You're bad.
I'm going to give a speech. I'm one of the most bad to the bone characters of all time, but I'm going to give a speech. That's what I'm going to do because this is Disney.
That's what Frank is going to give a speech and prosecute cops for trademark infringement. That is going to be the Punisher thing.
Yeah.
He's going to be
the Cop Network.
The Cop Network appears to be the most sinister villain so far. And you were mentioning Muse, and I don't know what we got in the comics and how he was supposed to be a big deal. How much ink and posts and discussion did you hear in the lead up to this about White Tiger?
None.
White Tiger was supposed to be like, I had seen photos, I had heard talk, I had heard like, White Tiger. We didn't get White Tiger doing any White Tigering. He put on his costume, walked down the street, and got murked.
Got shot in the head. Yeah.
That's 100% of the White Tigering that we saw. Oh, wait, we saw a convenience store security camera footage.
And we heard the the escapades of the White Tiger through the courtroom drama. We heard what he has done.
Courtroom drama.
but that is the most boring way to explain the vigilante. So yeah, I'm not in for that so far.
Well,
Yeah.
this goes back to what Bonebridger is always talking about. The Marvel writers are
Mhm.
addicted to telling and not showing.
Yeah.
That is their plan. They always tell, they never show. And in a visual medium, that is not what you should be doing. And what I'm trying to figure out is, how did White Tiger accomplish all these escapades? And what is wrong with that amulet that it's that easy? Like, how did he do this for years and save all of these people when any random dude in the street could see this dude in the white jumpsuit and be like, oh yeah, that's a vigilante, and just walk up right behind him and murk him? Like, it's not hard. It was not hard. I mean, if it was that easy to kill Daredevil or Spider-Man, they would be dead day one. Like, day one,
Yeah.
you walk out of the street in the costume, dead that afternoon. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But no, he had all these testimonials in the courtroom. I was like, how did he accomplish any of that? This dude just walks down the street and gets murked. But whatever. Vanessa as a mob boss is something I don't buy at all. And the therapy sessions are just weird. Yeah, and who goes to a therapist's office? I mean, I don't know how Mother Coral is running her psychiatric office, but they usually run a pretty tight ship because they're charging for every hour that somebody's in this office.
Yeah.
Who dedicates their office to have their clients have a little 15-20 minute pre-argument before they step in?
First of all, the thing about Vanessa not being a great mob boss, that I agree with that 1,000%. First of all, as an actress, I don't think that she has those chops. There are actresses that I have seen step in and take the lead of the family role and do a very good job at being, Mother Corleone. She is not one of them. She has not sold me on it one iota that anybody would listen to her at all. Okay. And I know that she's Fisk's wife, and that brings its own level of gravitas. I get all of that. Okay. But as an actress, she just does not come across as anybody that has that level of confidence in herself with me. And I just don't think that it's realistic at all. I don't buy that. I feel like it was a big swing and a miss on the story to have her be in charge of the family. It's something that should have been, it's to have her in charge of the mob scene in New York is just something that it just doesn't make any sense.
And I know there's going to be some like 17-year-old or 22-year-old Xennial or whatever they call themselves coming on here to tell us that Vanessa as the mob boss of New York is comic book accurate because Disney sometime in the last 5 years.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying this actress is not delivering it. There's just no way. And
I don't buy it for the character. I mean, the character as established, as I grew up with reading Daredevil and Spider-Man comics, is Vanessa at first had no idea what the Kingpin did, and then found out. And I mean, she's constantly leaving him over it. He's constantly pretending to reform, and she comes back or whatever. But Vanessa has never been in on the crime. That's not the story. That she's also the mob boss. That's just not.
I mean, Fisk is always in charge. Let's just call it. Even when he's the mayor, he's always in charge, as we just saw. And this idea that she's the one that's giving the orders because he doesn't have time to, because he's the mayor. I don't really like that. I mean, Fisk is the one in charge. We all know he's the one in charge. He's always been the one in charge. I don't know. It's a weird angle. And then yes, the therapy sessions I absolutely hate. I think that it's the only tie-in that they have to Matt is the fact that his girlfriend is their therapist. It's the weirdest thing, man. I don't get that, but
it just the whole cucked Kingpin. I'm just not, constantly talking about Adam, and you don't try the affair and having to sit in this therapy, and she's taking over the mob. none of that is working for me. Like Vincent D'Onofrio is still like killing it as Kingpin because really at the end of the day, I feel like he's going to kill everyone. I get that dread of menace. Like when he looks at Vanessa's like, you're getting dangerously close to being someone I can't trust.
Yeah, exactly.
At least helps it. But I feel like these writers are going to make him lose to her somehow. That's what I'm afraid of,
Me too.
And I don't know. And Marvel,
because he has already lost to a 19-year-old girl, Dan. I mean,
yes.
and then like a 25-year-old girl shot him in the face. So, so the like 50-year-old girl, that's the next step of the one that actually is going to kill him.
That's the next step of total immunity. And she won't even have a giant taser to get him with or anything. No, she'll just outmaneuver him, which is the absolute like being a shifty, like making moves.
She'll like poison him or something. She'll like do something really boring and stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. So Hector's actor is fantastic, but the pacing of this episode was super slow. Hector and the White Tiger and the way this guy played the character, I feel like there was all kinds of potential there.
There was.
He could have we could have followed him. Like if Matt just wants to hang around and have a courtroom drama, we could at least had White Tiger adventures where he's out fighting crime. What's that?
You want to make a bet?
What?
Okay. I know that you said this wasn't. I know that you said this wasn't Frank, right?
Right.
What if what we saw was not actually the White Tiger, but someone who is inspired by the White Tiger that got murdered? I'm just throwing that out there.
Not Hector, then that is just okay. So far, we're getting cliffhangers, right? That make you look forward to next week. But they already left us on a cliffhanger last week of Matt alone in an apartment with what we both swore last week were 2 dead cops.
Mm-hmm.
We were absolutely sure he had killed one, if not both of those cops, and he was going to be in heap big trouble.
You'd be surprised what you can live through, but I don't know how anybody lives through that. I don't.
When somebody takes you over their shoulder and slams you into the ground onto your head, and your head bends in a violent manner, and a loud cracking sound is heard, I always just take that to feel like
he absolutely cracked that dude's skull like 4 times against the refrigerator, right? I mean, it was like there's no way anybody survives that. So Travis is hopping in here with us.
All right, we got Travis here. Hi, Travis.
Hey,
we jumped right in. We're venting about how we'll Travis, but yeah.
Go ahead, Travis.
We're venting about last week's false cliffhanger. Like we were totally convinced that Matt had killed those guys, or at least grievously wounded them, but like he was going to get caught.
Yeah, and then they show back up.
He just must have just walked out of the apartment, and those dudes were fine, and like
they just woke up and they were like, "Oh man, that was rough."
We were 10 minutes into this episode before they even talked about it, right? I mean,
obviously Daredevil has learned to hold back a little bit and not kill everybody. For some self-control.
Yeah.
So, but then the reason we got on that is Tim had a theory about how we could have another false cliffhanger, and that wasn't Hector at the end of the episode.
Yeah, and Dan's thrown out the idea this probably was not Frank at the end either. So so we don't know kind of what you were thinking about all that, but go ahead and hit us with it, Travis. What do you think?
Yeah, I it's hard for me to believe that that's Frank Castle, and I think they've led us to believe that with all the kind of bad police officers out there with the tattoos and stuff.
Yeah,
the Punisher tattoos, and then you saw like the big someone had painted on a wall with the Punisher saying, and so
it said triggered.
Triggered. It leads you to believe that. I don't know. It seems like they're setting us up to think that that's the Punisher, but it's not. That's just my take.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about, Frank doesn't do this for money, and the implication there was that Fisk paid him to kill Hector, which is
right.
Yeah,
you don't pay Frank to kill anybody. Frank just kills who Frank wants to kill. Now, Frank does kill everybody. Let's make that everybody that dies in the comic books. There's like a 50% chance that it's Frank that killed him.
So where are we setting the line? The probability that by the end of the series, Frank looks at one of these cops and says, I'm not wearing hockey pants. Come on. Come on. And will that be awesome or really, really awesome when Frank says he's not wearing hockey pants?
But he's got to say it in the Christian Bale voice or it doesn't count. Okay.
That's right.
Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, then we would establish that The Dark Knight is actually a movie that people watch in the MCU. Like, you know.
We're going to get so many people in the comments that are confused. It's crazy.
Dude,
hey, well, you know,
if you're watching this and you don't catch the hockey pants reference, then I don't know why you're watching this. I don't know. Wait a minute. We covered that comment, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Anyway, Travis, we were talking about like that was the White Tiger. That is total wasted potential. The actor was good. The character was good.
Actor was great.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really hope that was a fake White Tiger to try to lure out some of the evil that's surrounding that case. But
I think that little story at the beginning about the frogs. I mean, it was a dumb little story about frogs, but he delivered it really well. Yeah. Very emotional. He's a great actor, and I hate that that's how he was wasted. Essentially in 2 episodes he's gone. You know what I mean? He was in episode 2 and now he's in episode 3. He's gone. Well, and so I would hate that if that was the real White Tiger that they did that. I
feel like that might play into my worst case prediction for the series from last week, because if you go back to the trial, in the galley in the audience was his wife and his niece. So again, every Marvel project, every series, especially every series on Disney Plus, has to give us
someone.
By the time it's over,
the legacy.
We have to have a young Avenger. There must be a young Avenger. You have to have Wiccan. You have to have Scar. You have to have
the amulet still exists. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
The amulet still exists. That's
right.
It.
And now there's a female White Tiger. I mean,
yes, that's the one I was familiar with.
That's the
one I was familiar with. I was not even familiar with this one.
People know her from the Spider-Man cartoon, the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, and she is young. I believe she is the niece. I knew she was related to Hector in some way, so I believe she is the niece. So we had the niece in the courtroom. The amulet exists. Hector is dead. By the end of the series, we were going to have another Young Avenger because, of course, everybody just can't wait for Young Avengers. Are you guys stoked for Young Avengers? Like, you're gonna be there.
Goodness gracious, man! This is going to be the fact that they're still trying to shove this heap of garbage down our throats after all of the failed attempts. We had the post credit. I forget who it was even after, where we had Ms. Marvel and Kate Bishop talking to each other. I forget which post credit that was, but the Marvels maybe, I don't know. But anyway, there was a post credit where they were talking to each other about joining a team and doing the Young Avengers, and there was no legs for it. Nobody wanted it, and so they kind of abandoned it and set it on the shelf for a while. But then they've got these actors that they've promised stuff to. They've clearly promised stuff to these actors, and they're actors that have actually they're good actors that have put stuff aside for this. You know what I mean? I mean, Haley Steinfeld is a great actress. I hate the character of Kate Bishop for her, but she is a great actress. I mean, True Grit, she was only 13 and she was amazing in that. And so the fact that she's essentially waiting on Marvel to get their stuff together, and they're kind of up in the air about whether or not they're going to do it now. It's
Ant-Man's daughter. She's kind of she's in other things, right?
Cassie.
Stature. She's Stature, right? Cassie is Stature, and she was in Quantumania, with the suit.
But that actress, she's a fairly well-known actress.
Yeah, she was in that movie with the vampire girl that they kidnapped or something recently, whatever that was called. And then there was a bunch of other stuff. So I've seen her in a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of other actors and actresses. I mean, Iman Vellani, who plays Ms. Marvel, is once again not a fan of her character, but she's a great actress, and she just beams energy. She's got that youthful energy, all the time, and she could definitely do something, but they're just letting it sit right here. Her whole career is on hold waiting on this thing to come together. You know what I mean? She thinks she's going to be in the next Avengers, and I just don't think that's going to be the direction we're going to go.
Team. Like, you could have one or two of these guys like hanging out with a group of actual Avengers, like, and somebody would be fine with that. If you got like a couple of sidekicks going along with the Avengers, but again, Young Avengers is not Teen Titans or Titans. Those characters have had a long history of being popular, independent of the older DC characters. Young Avengers was Marvel's attempt to do that, and they have never been successful with it. They do not have a group that has a built-in fan base. They're not going to draw anybody with that. But anyway, Jon Snow Knows Nothing says, I see that Murdock went to the Chris Darden School of Law.
For those of you millennials who might not get the reference, Chris Darden was the OJ lawyer that told OJ to put the gloves on before he consulted with his team. So I see that Matt Murdock is.
Yeah.
All the millennials and Gen Zers are like, who's Chris Darden? So anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fisk using BB as a mouthpiece is interesting. You would think there are bigger avenues to get your message out.
And they mentioned that, right? They said, we've got the time. So what do we need this girl for? Right.
I was mad at that Times line because that was a perfect moment to really immerse you in like Marvel and be like, we've got people at the Bugle.
Yeah, exactly. You know what, Dan? I didn't even think about that, and you are dead on. We've got people at the Bugle. Would have been amazing right there. That's perfect.
That would have been,
and they've already introduced J. Jonah Jameson as like a podcaster. So it would have been perfect. You know what I mean? Right. It would have been, let's get J. Jonah Jameson on here,
Yeah. Shoot, man. I mean, was it J.K. Simmons after
J.K. Simmons? Yeah.
After Red One, I mean, that was not the hit it was supposed to be. He's probably sitting around waiting for a call too, looking for things to do. So
yeah.
I don't know.
He's living off of Invincible right now, but
I wonder if they're trying
to another not so subtle nod at current events.
Yeah,
that you're going with the podcasters. I mean, the internet personalities, and that they could be manipulated, and trying to tell the audience to trust legacy media. I feel like it might have been an ad for ABC News that Disney baked into there, trying to tell you not to trust Joe Rogan or something like that, basically, is what they're trying to do.
We talked about that last week. Yeah. How this was very Trumpian in tone, and it kind of felt that way. So yeah. Go ahead, Travis. I know you had something.
I was just thinking what you guys thought. I mean, I know so Trump, I mean, way back in the net, not Trump, I'm thinking wrong. Fisk was, I mean, the reason that her uncle died. I mean, he killed her uncle, and so I wonder if they're trying to make us feel or lead us to believe that that Fisk is still he's changed now, and so maybe they're trying to lead us to believe that he's going to bring in this niece of this guy that he's killed, and use her in some way. I feel like there's some kind of ulterior motive there that they're going to bring.
It's very interesting.
In the show.
It's very interesting.
She has to be carrying some kind of ulterior motive, because if she's like, okay, she's Ben Urrich's niece, and he is in the Daredevil series, was a very sharp reporter, very on point.
Now, hold on. I did not know this. This is supposed to be Ben's niece.
Yes, this is Ben's niece. They talked about it when she was sitting there with Fisk when she came to interview him. He's like, I knew your uncle.
I completely missed that. So this is Ben's niece that runs the BB report.
How many
this just got colossally stupider than I thought it was. I'm sorry. I cannot buy into this. I can't. This is ridiculous.
It's a weird move for sure.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Ben is a long-standing character
in Daredevil.
From Spider-Man and Daredevil. He works at the Bugle. He's one of the best reporters.
He's like an investigative reporter.
Yeah, and it was shocking in the Daredevil show when he was
He
killed.
died in season 1.
Yeah.
Season 1.
Because
You know?
he's been in the comics for what 30, 40 years.
And he's connected to all those characters, like you mentioned. So when he died, it was like, what?
Yeah,
I know.
It was a real, just shocker. Which is like sometimes they can change things from the comics in a good way by really. I mean, and it, you feel bad because you like to see more Ben, but also you're like, oh wow, they can surprise me and do it well. They haven't done that in a long time. But
since about that series, they haven't done it in a long time.
But again, you would think that Ben's niece would be more on the ball than to be sucked in with a con job by Wilson Fisk. You would hope that she's trying to do some investigative and expose him for having killed her uncle or something.
And I feel like she kind of was trying there, like, to kind of throw a little shade at the angles that he was trying to come at. Like, he was acquitted by a jury of his peers and he, all this kind of stuff. But I don't know. I feel like now knowing that that's Ben's niece, I despise that whole connection. That's something that makes no sense to me. And why would she do it? I mean, it would. Why would she? Like it's well documented. He's the one that killed Ben, right? I mean,
the angle is like I feel like she's trying to get close to try to expose him, but also I feel like that should be obvious to the Kingpin. Like he should see that coming a mile away. So
she's manipulating the dude who she clearly has zero interest in order to get in with the Kingpin, and he knows that. And so it's just like the whole thing is just weird. And now that I know it's Ben's niece, it makes zero sense. It makes zero sense. When it was just some aggressive little podcaster, I was like, okay, she's just trying to get ahead. But now that I know it's Ben's niece, it makes zero sense.
So I Am the Night says, of course it was Frank. Frank kills everyone, but I have to disagree. That was absolutely 100% not Frank.
Frank does kill everybody, but he kills them when he wants to kill them. So anyway,
and he is it now. Did it remind me when we left the old Netflix series? Frank's kind of retired. I mean, he retired multiple times, but he's kind of like not doing that right now, right?
Yeah,
like
he's
stepped away.
He's definitely not doing this at the moment. So
right. Yeah. I don't think
now, but from the Kingpin's little acceptance speech, I would take it that he hasn't done it 0 times either. Like maybe the Punisher has reared his head recently a time or two and stepped in, or maybe it's not the Punisher as we're just seeing here. So because all he said was a vigilante with a skull on his chest. So
where are we at on the bloody knuckles, guys? Does Fisk have Adam locked away in a basement somewhere and he just beats the crap out of him when he's feeling angsty? I mean, is that what's going on? They're staying bloody.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, right? I mean, it's got to be that he's got Adam locked up in a gimp suit. He pulls him out, he beats him, he puts him back in the box, he keeps him alive so he could beat on him some more, right? I mean, do we think that's what's happening? I don't know. That's my theory.
I don't know. I think that Fisk is who Fisk is, and he can't change who he is. Yes, I think that the Adam thing is that it's really convenient that we have not seen Adam because I think that Adam is attached to some cinder blocks in the bottom of the river. But I think that he just can't help who he is, and I think that he steps in when he steps in and things happen. So we just haven't seen him, but I think that that's just who he is. So
the cinematography there was really good though, how it changed over to
from him
Murdock
to Matt. That was really good. That was really good.
So Jefferson Hatter says a lot of people forget the Punisher cop group from the comics. So there was probably a storyline.
There was a storyline in the comics, and I remember it vaguely. But I don't once again, these group villains are not really something that interests me. So, typically that's not a run I would have read over and over again. So yeah, but I do remember it very briefly.
And honestly, the idea, I mean, it seems very obvious to me that the way they're laying this out is these cops are using the Punisher's iconography and they're going out and they're killing people and they're doing untold shady things. I don't know. They got CIs that they're beating up on subway stations. They don't identify themselves as police. When people tell them to stop, they I don't know. They're not just being rough with criminals. They're probably running something nefarious under the seams. But
Yeah.
the idea that Frank would come out of retirement to start taking retribution on cops
From the
because
Kingpin.
they were killing
Yes.
criminals.
Yeah.
They would have to be like running a drug ring or a human trafficking or something like that to draw the Punisher's ire. If they're wearing Punisher skulls and killing criminals, I don't think the Punisher's going to get all bent up about it. He's not going to care. You know, that's what he does too. So if somebody else kills some criminals, he's not Batman. You know what I'm saying? He's not like, only I can kill maniacs. You can't kill maniacs. He's not that kind of. He doesn't have a code that's that deep. You know. So I don't know. Let's see. We go down here. Hey, Mrs. Nerdchamp. There's Jess. I assumed Hector would die, but damn. Side note, did you know the actor died of CS? Oh, I did not.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know
okay.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
now I feel terrible because I was just talking about how awesome he was and how Disney did him dirty, but it sounds like he actually died. So I did not know that. So, bummer.
Yeah. And I feel like
Oh, that stinks.
did they show him? Because they might have just added that after he died. You know what I'm saying? Because it didn't have to be him in that suit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It seems kind of pivotal to the plot. So like
That could have been a big part of the rewrites too. I mean, you never know. That could have been a big part of the rewrites. So yeah. So cancer in 2023. That's it right there.
December 2023.
So it could have been a big part of the rewrites is the fact that he died. Well, that's a bummer.
Ultimate Spider-Man Disney CD had a white tiger named Ava.
Disney XD. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
what was his niece's name in the show? I didn't even pay attention.
Yeah. Hector.
I don't think they mentioned it. I don't think they mentioned it in the episode, did they? They didn't mention it, but Ava. If it's Ava, we know that that's what they're doing. So
we can look it up on here. Hold on, you guys. I'll look it up on the. Well, I'll hit the next comment.
I mean, that was his last name, so it makes
that
sense.
was his next name. And if you go, I don't know, we can pull up IMDb and see if her.
I didn't watch a lot of that Disney XD Ultimate Spider-Man show, but I do remember it got Luke Cage and White Tiger in it, right? We're like his pals in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was White Tiger, Nova. And
Nova was in that? That's weird.
Yeah, Nova was
Nova
yeah, it was Nova.
I remember there was one more and I couldn't remember.
Spider-Man and Iron Fist.
That's what it was. Iron Fist.
Yeah, Iron Fist was in it. Yeah. And it was an okay show. It was kind of fun. It was a kind of a play off of the MCU type timeline, but not where you had Sam Jackson-ish Nick Fury, and he was teaching Spider-Man, like Nick Fury was watching over Spider-Man. He was going to be the ultimate Spider-Man because he was monitoring him. And all of these other teen heroes were living with him at his Aunt May's house. I'm pretty sure.
Is that the one that actually had, is it Greg Clark? Is that his name that played Coulson? Coulson, that actor played the voice of Coulson in one of those Spider-Man shows. Was that?
Oh, really?
Huh. It probably was. Yeah,
I think it may have been.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
So
pre-Avengers, maybe.
I'm not seeing the. God, there's a lot of people in the show, and some of these people say they're in 18 episodes. I feel like they have the credits for the episodes they got rid of when they completely reshot this. You know, because how could there aren't 18 episodes of this?
Yeah,
but some people are credited as being in that many. Well, I'll figure that out later. But
yeah,
okay, we're this far in. Where are we on the show? Like Travis, overall. You haven't been here at all. So have you been liking the show? Are you still liking the show? Like, what is your episode 1, 2, 3? Where's your meter been moving as you go through this series?
I think it started really high, and not that it's gotten lower, but this episode was a little bit slower, obviously, because you've got a lot of courtroom scenes. But so far, I've liked it. I feel like it's a kind of a natural continuation of the Netflix show, even if it's on jumped on Disney Plus instead of Netflix. I'm hoping that they will bring back some of those other things, like some of those other characters. I'd love to see Luke Cage or Jessica Jones again show up in the MCU officially. But so far, I've enjoyed it. I think it's my only complaint maybe is it's been a little slow as far as Daredevil-esque things, fighting, all investigation type stuff. But I feel like maybe at the end of this episode we're kind of leading up to that. Like, okay, we've kind of rebuilt this world that we haven't had for several years now, and maybe it's about to really kick into high gear. But I mean, overall, I've enjoyed it.
Where are you at now, Tim? Like we were both feeling pretty good through the first 2 episodes. We have trepidation. Where are you at after 3?
I'm still being very cautious. I'm not going to write the series off just yet. What I will say is I'm seeing so far that it's making a lot of the same series mistakes that we've seen before, not just from Marvel, but from Star Wars and from a lot of other things. When you've got a series like this, one of the biggest things that you've got to just nail down is who is the main antagonist. And I just don't think they've done that yet. They have not told us who the main antagonist of the series is. Is it Fisk? Is it Muse? Is it Punisher? Is it this cop network? Is it, I mean, who's it going to be? And is it Bullseye? Is he going to escape? Is that who was in the Punisher outfit at the end? I don't know. There's all kinds of possibilities there. And they really need to figure it out soon, because after next week, we're halfway through the series. If we don't know who the main antagonist is, that's a big mess. And one of the big problems that I have with a lot of the stuff that's been done previously is that they don't know who the main antagonist is. With Falcon and Winter Soldier, I brought that up before. There was a lot of messiness about who was going to be the main antagonist in that particular show. Was it Walker? Was it the Flag Smashers? Was it Zemo? And then, Spider-Man 3. This is the classic Spider-Man 3 problem. You've got Venom, you've got Green Goblin, you've got Sandman. You got to pick a lane. You got to pick a guy. He's your guy. He's the one that you're building off of. He's the one that everything's going to go through. I think they're trying to do that with Fisk, but it's not landing. So they're going to this cop network. And I just don't know if it's going to be strong enough to carry the day, because when the plot gets too muddied and too confusing like that, because it's too crowded, I feel like there's not enough time in 8 episodes to tell that kind of a run. That's like a 100-issue run where you've got multiple villains like that. You need to be able to do this in 8 episodes, and I just don't think they're going to have the time to do that. They haven't even introduced Muse yet. Haven't even introduced him. So, and that was the one that we were supposed to get in this series. That was the top billed villain. So I'm really confused as to what they're going to do. If they can nail that down within the next episode and give us something to build off of. But the one thing I don't want them to do is just completely change direction either. That's what happened in Luke Cage season 1. We completely shifted off of Cottonmouth and went to which one was it that they went to? Which snake was it that they decided to go with after Cottonmouth? I forget, but they completely shifted from one guy to the other guy, and it didn't work. It didn't work at all. So I feel like they need to Diamondback. That's who it was. It was Diamondback.
Yeah.
They shifted from Cottonmouth to Diamondback, and it did not work. You could have Cottonmouth with Mahershala Ali was great, and you could have ridden that all the way through the series, and they didn't do that. Same thing here. I feel like they could have ridden, one villain the whole time. The reason I love the first season of Daredevil, and the reason that I love Jessica Jones season 1 is because the villain was very, very well defined at the beginning. It carried through the whole season, and it was fantastic. That's what I really loved about those shows. And so now I would say that's the main issue that I have with the show at the moment. But I'm not writing it off. There's 5 episodes left. They can figure it out. So,
Travis, do you have any familiarity with Muse from the comics or because me and Tim, and then we had Darren last week, we've never read a Muse story. We don't know what Muse does or is or anything about it. Have you ever read anything or seen anything with Muse in it?
I don't recall reading anything with Muse in it. Now I didn't read a lot of Daredevil. I think the most exposure to Daredevil I probably got was when New Avengers came out, and he was kind of at the beginning of that, but then they kind of worked him out and he wasn't in it.
Yeah.
I've never read anything that I can recall with Muse in it, and I'm drawing a blank as to that character at all.
So
yeah,
I think he could tie deeply into the things that are already going on, because we have he could be a former cop, or we don't know anything about him. So I don't know, maybe he ties into this somehow.
Right.
The only reason that Tim or anybody else would think that Muse is a major player in this season would be from articles that you read or posts that you saw, because nothing you've seen in these 3 episodes would even hint at the idea that there's some big player outside of what's already been established ready to come in, other than the Punisher's coming because you've seen his emblem for 2 episodes straight now.
Right.
Muse, if you hadn't seen that on various ads and things, you would have no reason to believe that he would even exist in this. So maybe he's got a very small part. I theorized last week that he might have been a major part of the original show they were going to make. He might be a very small part of what this season actually has become.
Maybe he's going to be some kind of setup for a second season.
Yeah.
Because
we're
unfortunately, that's what Disney has fallen in love with doing, is kind of building a villain through a whole season and kind of introducing them as the main villain the next season. So that's something that they've done before, and I'm not a fan of that. I just love an easy linear storyline with a very, very sinister villain that has terrible motives and that you can just love to hate. That's what I just absolutely love about a lot of the villains that we've seen recently, right? And there was so much potential here for something like that. It's a shame that we're not getting it, because it definitely is something that we could have gotten. If they were going to just make this another Kingpin series, they could have done that, but they haven't even done that. So
I don't know that Daredevil will do this, but we live, and I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but I've read that there's a very neutral aspect to that, where you can kind of think it's up to you who you want to root for. There's not a bad guy or a good guy. And now
it's very much like The Walking Dead in that way.
Yeah.
The Game of Thrones they muddy the waters a lot. There's a lot of people in the early seasons of Game of Thrones where they make you absolutely despise them by things that they've done, right? Jaime Lannister comes to mind. You absolutely despise Jaime Lannister, and then over the course of the next several seasons, they made him very sympathetic. And by the end, they wanted you to be sad that he died, though I don't think they executed that.
And that's what they did with Negan, kind of in Walking
exactly.
Dead.
It's the same thing. Same thing with Negan. Same thing with Rick and Shane in Walking Dead. You can pick a side. You can see it from both perspectives and all this kind of stuff. And Dan and I have talked about sympathetic villains before, and how that's kind of been a trend that we do not care for. Trying to make almost a sympathetic version of Wilson Fisk is something that is just kind of it's an interesting choice.
I think they did good with Thanos and giving him that reason that was a good reason to do what he was doing. But sympathetic villains, they're hard to use. I mean, that's hard to utilize and do well.
Yeah, I feel like you can enjoy Fisk, you can enjoy the Kingpin, you can align with him. you can sympathize with him a little bit, but he can't have no altruistic motives. He has to be evil and greedy. This whole thing, he can't be looking out for the betterment of New York City. This has to be an angle, or you have lost the Kingpin. That's not the Kingpin. This is an angle.
That's it. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's one of those Norman Osborn type characters. He is. If they come off as good, it's because they've got another motive.
Right. Yeah. You just the other shoe hasn't dropped, And then I did what Travis. I tried to hit Tim and Ethan with it last week, but I didn't get the reaction I wanted. So they announced last week the 2-hour premiere drops at 9:00. By 3 a.m., they have already announced that Foggy is coming back for season 2.
Yeah.
The timing of that announcement, I think they got scared.
Yeah. That was.
Yeah.
That's you're just throwing all your cards out there. Like, that was a bad move. I don't know what their motive was behind that. Because my wife watches it with me, and she watched all the Netflix shows, and when I was tore up, but she was really tore up with Foggy. And so I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that were tore up with Foggy, but then to turn around within so long and announce he's coming back for season 2.
Yeah.
It takes away that emotional, impact that it had. And maybe it's just flashbacks or backstory, and I don't know, but
yeah,
that's kind of weird.
Yeah. I had a theory that he's going to talk to dead Foggy for the whole season, kind of like Rescue Me. But
Walking Dead had that as well, where they announced that there were like 6 characters that were coming back, and it's because Tyrese got bit, and as he was dying, he was seeing all of their ghosts and talking to them and stuff. And so it was like, that's why the characters came back, was to have ghost conversations in a subconscious of a guy that was dying. And so it's not there's a lot of reasons for why a guy like that can come back, but I agree. I think that the reason that Disney chose to release it when they released it is because they were nervous. They were nervous about how his death was going to be received, and they wanted to give people who might have written the show off because of that reason to come back for the next week. So that's the reason it felt like.
Yeah. And Tim and Darren we're both solid in the clap that he is dead. Now, I've read there is a storyline, and I saw more posts about it throughout this week, where Foggy.
He's not Uncle Ben, Dan. He's not Uncle Ben.
Yeah, he has faked his death in the comics, so maybe he faked it. Maybe he's coming back. Be kind of a dick move for old Foggy if he did this to Matt.
He's not Uncle Ben. The only person that stays dead is Uncle Ben. It's a rule. It's a rule. So
was it Winter Soldier where
just not Uncle Ben Urich? Okay.
Nick Fury, you think he's dead, and then in the end he comes back?
Yeah. I remember for years, you could say the only person who stays dead is Bucky.
Yeah.
Bucky stays dead. That was
and then they had that run where he came back. There you go.
The Brewbreaker run. With the Winter Soldier run in the comics, and I mean Bucky had been dead for like over 50 years when he came back. But and I will say I am still enjoying the show. This episode was very much a legal drama, a legal procedural, but it was a well done one. All the acting was good, all the performances were good. The legal angles were interesting. They pulled the stuff out, throwing out that he was White Tiger to get him off. That was all well executed. But I mean, I don't want like 6 or 7. I don't want the whole rest of the run to be this. That can't be the whole series.
It'll be disappointing.
You're right. I think they did some of that really well. Even some of the like surprise stuff, like the guy you thought the witness was with the one guy in the back of the van, and they, the cop pulls him over, and that was all well done. And then he makes it, but then once you're like, oh man, I'm relieved he's on the stand. He's gonna, and then he denies it.
That
was pretty good. Some courtroom drama.
Yeah, I will say that I've exacerbated all of the patience that I have for a courtroom drama in a superhero show. I think I'm done with it. I mean, now look, he's a lawyer. I get it. Lawyers are in court a lot, but I feel like I need this episode is all of that we needed. If they give us more than this, it feels like they're just filling space at that point to me. I don't really think they need it anymore. We can get right back to the superhero stuff and it'll be great. So, but yeah, I've had my fill.
He did tell Hector that he would be surprised how much he doesn't miss being White Tiger, Tim. Did you miss that line where he told him you'd be surprised?
I did not miss that line. I did not miss that line. So yeah.
So that told me that Matt is feeling really good about not being Daredevil. That's just you know.
But then, but he did enjoy beating those two guys up.
I really hope this was a cog that leads us to something exciting. Like, okay, we got the courtroom stuff out of the way, and it's opened up whatever's going to happen next. And I hope we're.
Yeah, let's real quick. So the payoff for the guys that Vanessa sent to the guys that were robbing the van and murdered two guys and all that kind of stuff. I kind of thought that was just a weird that was weird timing to kind of bring that one up as well. So we've got the mob getting too messy, and she essentially is going and giving them payment for that. So I just don't know. Once again, we're getting into the political scene here with Fisk and paying guys off and doing all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was kind of a weird thing to be setting up, but they also kind of left that open ended. You know what I mean? Like those guys, it feels like could be trouble. They're another villain, but potentially.
Well, I feel like
that we didn't even think
like
about.
the whole point of that sequence was to show that Vanessa is not obeying Fisk.
Mm-hmm.
She's running her own game. He's telling her to.
And she told him.
I mean, specifically, what's that?
And she told him.
Yeah, you know? And but before she did it, she brought it up to him when they were eating breakfast or whatever they were in that weird room with the murals on all the walls.
Yeah,
She told him about how they had hijacked a truck, and he said, "That's below us. We don't need to get involved with it. Let them all kill each other. This is not our problem. Don't get involved." And then she did. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, and then what's the Fisk's lackey? What's his name? Did either of you guys catch his name? The guy that she sent?
The guy with the money.
Yeah. The guy that sent to carry the message anyway. When he says, "I don't work for Fisk, I work for the man."
Yeah.
What does
She's
that mean?
The man.
She's the man.
I get that's what I understood. I understood it as she's the man because she's the one that paid. So I mean that 1.8 million doesn't come from nowhere. So it was
like what happened was the guy who did the hijacking was there, and the guy who got hijacked was there, and the guy who did the hijackings was being forced to reimburse the guy he hijacked 1.8 mil. And the reason that was a big deal was because that was more than he stole. But it's like, no, you're paying because you killed guys. Like you got messy and you kill guys too. So you gotta compensate. Like these are two different families that one encroaching the other guy's turf, and it's like, no, you got to make compensation now. It was what that's what I understood.
Yeah.
But
no. Yeah, it was a meeting of multiple families and they were disagreeing, and she sent this dude to kind of be the arbiter of the whole thing. And I mean, it was, and they disagreed on the amount, obviously. And I don't know, the whole thing to me just seemed weird that once again, I wouldn't listen to her. I mean, she just does not seem like the kind of person that's an actual boss, and that's, I don't know. I just think the actress is not landing it. It's just not working for me.
I wonder if they're trying to set up like that Fisk really is trying to be different and do good, and she's going to be the one that pulls him all back into everything.
That's probably
Yeah.
it.
That's kind of what I see, but I don't know if that's what they're doing.
Just
but-
don't
Yeah.
like the angle of I don't like the idea of Wilson Fisk making an honest effort to be a better person. That
I don't
is
either.
not,
I don't either. If that's the real angle, then I'm out. You know, I don't like that at all. But yeah.
no. This has to be him building. I mean, because he's got bloody knuckles. He's gaming the system, and he threatened his wife right before that session. He told her, he's like, "You're getting dangerously close to being somebody I can't rely or can't trust." You know, so he's still dangerous, and he has to stay that way, or he's not even interesting if he isn't. You know, I mean, if he's just trying to be a really good mayor, I mean, I guess you could have a show about a reformed mobster who goes straight and wants to actually be a good mayor, but I mean, that's not going to be a fun storyline for the Kingpin. You know, I mean, that's just not.
We don't want a Loki story with him.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He has to stay deeply who he is. No redemption arcs for the Kingpin. That would be awful.
That wouldn't work for me. I don't think they're going redemption arc, but I do think they're flirting with the line a little too much, and they're making it seem like there's something he's got to go back to. He doesn't have to go back to it, folks. He never left. Okay, right. He never left. He's always been the guy that these people are scared of. He's always been the guy that they think they're answering to. Even though Vanessa was in charge of the family, the only reason that it carried any weight is the fact that she was his wife. Okay. And so he's always been that guy. And to have kind of flirting with the idea that she's trying to pull him back, he never left. And that's the thing that just, you know, the Kingpin has always been that guy. And so I agree, Dan. I think they're kind of trying to blur those lines a little too much, making it seem like a redemptive arc that is going to be something that they pull out from under us at the very end, and then we're going to find out he's evil. No, he's always been evil. I'm assuming he's evil, and that's kind of I guess the difference. If that's what they're going for, I'm really not into that. So
yeah, I don't. But again, I see potential of this being very boring or not good. You know,
it's there.
So far it has been good, but I just don't know.
We reserve the right at any point to say that it's bad. But right now we're not there yet.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm reserving my right to say I told you so. If it ends up being, even though I'm not saying it's been bad, I'm telling you that I'm seeing all kinds of possibilities for how it can be.
I see it too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So, and maybe these are red herrings. Maybe I'm meant to be afraid. Maybe they're doing a meta thing where they're just teasing us with, hey, watch, we're gonna give you a legal drama. You know, be afraid of that, nerds. We're gonna make it interesting. Yeah. But and then I'll be like even more excited when he's Daredevil next week and he beats the crap out of somebody.
We don't want it to stay in the courtroom too much because then She-Hulk's going to show up, guys.
Yeah,
that's right.
We want to avoid that.
Yeah.
And but who is the girl that did the Kool-Aid thing through the wall? Which villain was that?
That was Titania.
Titania. Yeah.
Titania. Yes, Titania. That's it.
So
yeah.
But then again, if we get another Daredevil fighter, we're gonna get an actual good Daredevil fight, or we're gonna get more CG cartoons on rooftops. So
yeah,
you know,
I mean, I think they're flirting. They're flirting real heavy with the Disney versus Netflix stuff right now, and I think that's kind of where things are getting blurred. They need to commit one way or the other. If they're going to give us a Daredevil show, give us a Daredevil show. I feel like just making it grittier than a normal Marvel show isn't making a Daredevil show. They've made it way too busy on the plot line so far. The pacing has been super slow. Yes, there's been suspense, and yes, there's been some action, but by and large, they've made a lot of mistakes so far. that doesn't mean that it can't be good and that it can't finish good. But right now, I'm being very, very cautious. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt because it is so different from anything else in Marvel so far. But it, like I said, we reserve the right at any point to say this is not good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Bullseye fight was 70% of a good Daredevil fight. Am I high? Am I low?
Yeah.
Was it 70? Was it 80? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
That fight?
Well, I think one of the big things that I like about what I'll say something I like about the show before it makes it sound like I'm being super negative about everything. I do like how the sets don't look like sets. In a lot of the previous Marvel shows, the sets have looked like sets. And so I am happy that the sets actually look like Streets of Hell's Kitchen or a bar or
offices,
offices, room. Yeah. The sets don't look like sets, which is something that is an art form. It takes a lot of filmmaking to make that work.
Yeah.
Previous Marvel shows have not done that well. So I'll say that. And so things like that fight with Bullseye, perfect example. It was a set, a very elaborately built set, but it was a set and they did a great job with it. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They could have just left the CG out. That would have been it would have been a little bit shorter and way better, in that fight. But other than that, the sets have been great, and you are right, up to and including probably my favorite Disney Plus Marvel show. They have all, like in WandaVision, at least you had a reason that all the sets look like sets. They were supposed to look like sets.
Exactly. Exactly.
But then they continued that. I didn't dislike Miss Marvel. I know you did, but the sets felt like sets. Her house felt like a set.
It was a set.
Mm-hmm. It felt like a set, just like the same way if you watched iCarly, that didn't feel like an apartment. That's a set.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and that show was like I think that's why I liked it. Is I have a daughter that's 22 now, and I watched iCarly when she was younger, and all those shows with her, and the Hannah Montana and stuff, and so that show had very much that vibe. And I'm like, okay, I can watch this and enjoy it. I've watched these shows before, So, but yeah, even the She-Hulk, everything felt like her office felt like a set, and like when she went,
it was,
to retreat where they had group, that didn't feel like a real place. So, that is a good, and again, I like what they've done. I don't want to get they can't keep. I feel like it feels like it's ramping up, right? And to use a music analogy, and I might alienate people viewing, and I might alienate some of you guys. I don't know. I hate U2. If you're in there and you love U2, let me know, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. U2 suck. U2 sucks. U2 has one trick. All right, they make songs that are like the first 45 seconds or 1 minute of Thunder Road or Born to Run. They make the first 1 minute of a Bruce Springsteen song for 3 minutes, right? See what I'm saying? And, the big triumphant part where it's building and building, and then it explodes, and it's huge, and you're yelling, and it's like you're singing along, and it exploded. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. You just got 3 minutes of the build, and it just stays right like this. It feels like it's building, but it's really not. And you end right where you started. It never gets big.
Dan,
it never explodes.
Dan,
it never what?
Dan.
What?
I'm not a huge U2 fan.
Yeah.
But have you seen Sing 2?
I've not seen Sing 2.
When the lion, who is voiced by Bono, comes out and sings, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. You will cry. Okay, I'm just letting you know. All right?
I will cry because the song is that bad. I mean, I don't know if I'm really, but you know how that is. If you listen to Thunder Road or Born to Run, you understand the start slow and it builds, and at a certain point it goes, like it explodes. And this show feels like the beginning so far. We're still in that first minute, where it's slow. I need the explosion. I need it to like really. I need this.
It's a very slow burn. It's a
Yeah,
very slow burn so far. And for a plot that's this busy, that's weird. Okay. I think that's the big thing. For a plot that's this busy, we should be getting action all over the place. We should be having the mob killing people. We should be having the cop network killing people. We should be having Muse doing Muse things and Punisher doing Punisher things and Bullseye trying to escape from prison. And there should be all kinds of action with the stuff they've set up already. And there's none of that. You know what I mean? So
we're still climbing the hill on this roller coaster, listening to the chain clank. We're still clink, 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 clink,
yeah,
clink, 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 clink,
yeah.
clink.
And we're 3 episodes in. You know?
Yeah. If we don't go down a hill, if we spend the whole season,
we're at the halfway point next week. I mean,
is it 8 or 9 episodes?
I forget. Is it 8? I think it's 8, isn't it?
I just texted you the run times. Let me see. And there's another 2-for week.
Yeah, that's 5 and 6 is a 2-for
9 weeks. 9 weeks, and it's 9 episodes, 8 weeks. So
8 weeks.
No, wait,
okay.
9. There's 2 2-fers. So it's 9 episodes. That's
7 weeks. It's got to be 7 weeks. Yeah.
So it's only 7 weeks, and next week will be 3 weeks out of 7. So we will be watching episode 4 next week out of 9. So, there is no true halfway. You're either over halfway or a little bit less. So, I don't want.
About halfway through episode 5, we need to.
Do you guys think Frank is going to come back as a big player and a big character in the rest of these episodes, or is he just going to make an appearance and that's going to be it?
Well, I had heard, and then this even gives me more worry about this season of Daredevil because Punisher's going to get a special, and I heard rumors that Punisher's special is going to be all about Punisher going after dirty cops.
Oh.
So if this whole dirty cop storyline is in Daredevil Born Again to set up a Punisher special, and it does not get resolved within the confines of this show, that's going to be a lot of wasted space for this show. If the Punisher's only here to set up his own special and not actually be a part of this season, then they're just doing us dirty. That's not right.
Yeah. But Dan and I have pontificated at length about how we're upset that Punisher is only getting a special anyway. But if it's basically just going to be cleanup because they couldn't kill all the villains in this one with this time they had, then I'm not in for that. That's
probably where they'll bring Muse in. Muse will come in at the end, and then he'll be in the Punisher special.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that Travis, like you're the age that you can remember. These young kids don't understand. In the 90s, Marvel character popularity, right? It was Spider-Man. Spider-Man's always been the most popular Marvel character.
And that's why I know about the Kingpin, because I watched that Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah, right. Me too.
So after Spider-Man, the next most popular Marvel character was probably Wolverine, right?
The X-Men and Wolverine.
Punisher was probably number 3. Like he was like the 3rd most popular Marvel character. Like,
in the 90s. I mean,
he was in the intro Captain, every week to maybe Spider-Man.
Cap. Yeah, he was an intro to Spider-Man.
Like shoots a bazooka or something. Yeah, intro, I remember.
Yeah, he had up to like 3 and 4 ongoing monthly titles, solo titles starring just the Punisher.
And he's one of the few characters. He's one of the few characters before the studios divided properties. He's one of the few characters that had a standalone film, starring Dolph Lundgren and so
Thomas Jane. There was a Thomas.
Well,
Jane
Thomas Jane was once they divided the properties, though.
Oh, okay.
But before they divided the properties, I mean, the Dolph Lundgren movie, and so you look at it like the Punisher in the run that he had in the 90s was fantastic. It was a great run, and then he had great graphics at that time as well. I feel like I feel like a lot of the lore of Punisher has been lost because we've kind of mixed him in with all the like Defender characters and Daredevil and all that because of the Netflix shows. But that's not the Punisher that I remember reading. The Punisher I remember reading was like his own man. And so that's I feel like I'm with you, Dan. A lot of these kids are not going to understand how popular the Punisher was in the 90s. He was a very, very popular character.
And people that didn't even read comics, I mean, his icon, the skull, was, I mean, people put that on the back of their cars. People would wear shirts, even if they didn't really know all about Punisher before all the Marvel characters and movies came along, and Iron Man and Thor and all those guys got popular. People knew, they became household names. Punisher and Spider-Man were, and even Wolverine were already around.
Yeah. And so, like, again, we're both reboot guys. There are more popular characters that they have not touched on that they could do instead of these fringe characters that they're doing. I don't want them to do any of those because I think they'll mess them up. Like I don't want to see Ghost Rider in this continuity. I don't want to see the X-Men rolled into this continuity. I want them to stop, reboot, and then do those characters. But as long as they're going to play in this sandbox, if they've got a good version, like, this Punisher is been good and they've got a good actor lined up, like, give me more of that. Give me more of that guy. If you're not willing to reboot, then like, let's go with the popular characters with actors that are still willing to do it instead of giving me Ironheart, Miss Marvel, Agatha, things that are fringe. And so like only best case scenario, half the audience comes along with you on a lot of these.
Did Agatha even have her own comic run? I mean,
no, she was the
maybe, but I don't remember.
What was
Jared gave us the history of this. Jared gave us the history of this when we were doing Agatha. She was like somebody's like babysitter or something, right, Dan?
She was really old in the comic.
Four's nanny.
She was the Fantastic Four's nanny who had some sinister motives, and that was it. But she wasn't like, she never had her own run. She never had her own major story.
Not big,
and she definitely never looked as young as Catherine Hahn. So I don't know what they were doing with that. Dan was a fan of the show. Too. I was not. What's that?
And Madam Web.
Like, we didn't ask for a movie for her. She was a minor character in Spider-Man. Like,
dude, every Madam Web comic you ever read was confusing. She had a whole big storyline in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. Yeah. Also really confusing. And it was always about like Tim would hate Madam Web anyway, because it was always multiversal what if stories where she saw all these different futures and maybe Spider-Man needed to do something different because of some future she saw.
Yep.
And it was never grounded enough for a Spider-Man comic, because when Spider-Man starts getting mystical, like, I feel like you lose the core of Spider-Man. I never like it when like who was it who had the whole storyline about how Spider-Man had this spider totem and he was a part of a long line of Spider-Men, and it's just like, dude, this is not.
Yeah, don't make it that deep. Don't make superhero stuff that deep, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's superhero stuff is made to be really, really easy. It's made to be, it's made to be aspirational. It's made to be something that, we can see ourselves in. You're not supposed to make it like so deep with layers upon layers on top of layers. It's not supposed to be that way.
And you should be able to tell who the bad guy is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's real easy. You know what I mean? Like the old, this is something that we've lost in comic books over time. We've lost the art of simple storytelling. We think everything has to be complicated. And I've just, it's the reason I say this all the time. I've never loved 100-issue comic book runs because of this, because they hardly ever are linear. They're usually going a million different directions. It's hard to keep up. I don't like doing that. That's why I like the 4-issue, 6-issue runs. They're usually very simple to follow. There's one main villain the whole way through, and the characters all have one goal in mind. And so, that's just I don't know. I feel like Marvel is getting more towards the other side than that. So that's kind of why I'm a little frustrated.
Yeah. So like I'm glad we're getting a Daredevil series. I'm glad we're getting 2 seasons of it because we're still playing in this continuity, and we do have a very good Daredevil, and we've gotten 3 good episodes so far. Predictions. Do you guys think it will ramp up, or do you think we're just gonna stay at this level? Do you think they're gonna give us what we want?
Oh, we got a new comment there, Dan. Hold on.
Yeah.
What do we got?
Hold on, my mouse. Here we go. How about that new episode? What a kangaroo court.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a lot of courtroom stuff, man. A lot of courtroom stuff. So yeah, I mean, Travis, go ahead. What do you think is going to happen here with the rest of the series going forward?
I think we're gonna see it ramp up, but now does it give us everything we want? Yeah, I'm still cautiously optimistic, but I think it'll get faster. It'll get quicker. We'll see a lot more of that. Maybe the Daredevil stuff we want to see, but we'll see if the storyline plays out well.
Yeah. What about you, Tim?
Yeah,
I think they're going to give.
I think they're going to give us more action, but whether or not they give us more Daredevil action, more superhero action, and more action that makes sense is kind of what I'm hoping they give us. But we'll see. I'm like I said, we're only 3 episodes in. This was a courtroom one, and it wrapped up within 1 episode, so I can't get too mad about that. But I am hoping that we can pick up the pacing and kind of build towards the end of the series. That would be nice. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
I'm going to say I've enjoyed it so far, and I will hang in there. I'm going to watch, but I feel like the odds are favorable. I think there's a better than even chance that this episode is exactly what the whole series is going to be.
Forever in your favor.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. That's what I hope I'm wrong.
I hope we're wrong. Yeah, I hope so.
Odds be forever in your favor.
Yeah.
So we've been at this for a while. So Travis, tell the people where they can find you on the internet.
You can find me at my website at withtravis.com, and I'm also on YouTube at Build with Travis. So check me out.
Me and Tim are the Nerd Champs. You can see it says right there. Subscribe to at Nerd Champs. We will be back here Thursday at 9, where we'll be talking about Reacher episode. Was it 5? Right? Mm-hmm. Losing track because we're watching too many shows at once now. I can't keep that many things straight in my head. But anyway, Reacher.
This week's episode of Reacher, we will be reviewing.
Yeah, the one that comes out Thursday. We'll be talking about it Thursday at 9, and then we will be on Bonebridger's channel. This time next Tuesday at the end of the Daredevil episode, we will be on Bonebridger's channel. He's had a lot of stuff going on, but we will be back over there to discuss the next episode of Daredevil. Hopefully we will have a lot of action-packed hijinks to talk about. So until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.